What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And as you guys can see, today we're not going to be installing some parts. So we are actually going to be discussing the question that I got a lot once I sold the M3, and till this day I'm still getting a few questions about it. So I figure I might as well make a video, might as well make it a detailed explanation on my thoughts and why I did what I did. So right off the bat, yes, it's technically a downgrade. A lot of people think that once you start with the car, you're supposed to keep going up the ladder. And while there's nothing wrong with that completely, but as a car enthusiast, you have to go with what makes you happy. You can't just be buying a car because you want it as a status symbol. A lot of people these days are getting sucked into the fact that once you get a good car, you're not supposed to downgrade. You're not supposed to go down the ladder. You're supposed to keep going up. There's nothing wrong with that. If you can actually go up the ladder, more power to you, because that means that you're doing good in life. It was just one of those things where the M car, once I got into BMWs, it was actually a car that I really wanted to get and I wanted to experience at one point in my life. So I got the opportunity. I had a 335 F30 that I had these plans of going wide body, some deep dish wheels. The plans changed. I ran across a F80 M3. I was at a spot where I felt like I could make the move, and I did it. So I got a F80 M3, modded the exterior how I wanted. I'm not really a big power guy. I mean, I do like to have some power just to have fun here and there, but I'm not one of those guys that aims to have one of the fastest cars out there. Since I have a manual now, at this point, the automatics are always going to be faster, and the automatics can actually hold more power. But because that's not the goal that I had when I got this car, I just wanted a different experience. I've never had a manual F chassis car, so I wanted to try that. And then also I never really had a B58, which is why I ended up with the 440 after the M3. One of the most common questions that I get is, do I miss the M3 after getting this? And some things yes, some things no. Some things it's like the things that I miss are things that I can change and upgrade on this car to make it better. One of those things is the interior. I really do miss the interior of the M3. Everything else is the same, like the dash and all that stuff, minor differences. But once you get in it, you really don't see that difference. I'm still using the steering wheel that I had on the M3. Keys, I'm running the keys carbon fiber overlays, so even though it's not OEM, but it gives me the same feeling as of the view that I was getting when I was driving the M3. The seats obviously are not the same, so that is something that I'm really considering upgrading, because I'm really enjoying this car. Like, I love the color, the styling of it really grew on me. And then once we get the front end completed, which we're getting close to being able to drop it off to the body shop for paint, so it's gonna look way more aggressive. Then I'm gonna have to be working on the rear to make it match the aggressiveness that the front is gonna have. So at the end of the day, I feel like this car is gonna be that car that I wanted to build. And to be honest, if the F30 would have been a B58, I probably would have kept it and done a lot more things to it than what I had done. Maybe I would have changed some of the things, did some things differently, but that's kind of where I'm at with this car. So the reason why I got rid of the F80 was because I felt like the only reason to make the F80 stand out even more was to dump way more money than I had in mind at that moment. Also, just being honest, I had the opportunity to make some money off of that car. So I made a good chunk of money off of that car, selling it, because I bought it at the right time and sold it when the market was hot for any used car. So I got a good price on the car when I sold it, and that was pretty much a good, you really can't go wrong. Like, I drove the car for free and made money on top of that, and I got to experience owning a M car, which is something that I wanted. So now I'm dumping money into this car. Yes, I probably could have bought an M4 at the price that I got this car and the stuff that I've been doing to it, but it's kind of one of those things where I would have ended up back in the same spot. I would have ended up with a M4 that I would have done the same thing that I did with the F80, And performance mods, at the end of the day, like the S55 is gonna be a better engine over the B58. I mean, I've seen topics on Facebook groups being discussed about this, but it's an M engine. I mean, it's in the M car for a reason. And I mean, you can get a lot of power out of this car, out of the B58s. If you want to go in a straight line, yes. I mean, I've seen plenty of B58s beat on S55s, and but to some people, it's not always about going in a straight line, and that's where the M car is superior. Like the handling on that M car, even though I never took it to the track or the mountains, you could tell that it was better than the regular F cars. That's kind of one of the things that I missed the most about the M3. It's just the feel of it. It felt more solid. The stiffness of the steering wheel was heavier than the F32 that I have now. I do have plans on getting another car in the future, but we'll have to figure that out in the future. So the point that I'm trying to get with this video also is to explain which one would be the better car for you. When I owned the F80, I wasn't really maximizing its full potential. I was just driving it regularly. And if you guys are wondering, I didn't really race anybody, maybe like 2 people. So power was never my main goal in that car. This car makes enough power for me to enjoy. Yes, I do want a little bit more power just because it's a manual. I want to have a little bit more just to keep up with some of these automatics. But you know, I think in the long run, I'll probably just do the upgraded turbo, keep it on 93, make it simple, try to keep it reliable. But I do want to hit like maybe low 500s, and I mean that's more than enough for me. So the common things that you have to worry about when you buy an M car is, for one, can you afford the maintenance? Can you afford the insurance? And can you afford like the aftermarket parts? Because an M car, the parts are always going to be higher than a regular F chassis car, the non-M's. And that's kind of one of those things where a lot of people, when they get into a car, then they realize that they can't modify it as much as they want to because everything is so expensive, or when they have to do repairs, it gets pricey. So I got to a point where I had done everything that I wanted to the M3, and the only thing that was left for me to do was modify the engine. And like I said, it was something that I wasn't going to be using the power. Like, I didn't want to dump all this money into it because I had other plans, other priorities in my personal life that I wanted to take care of. So I was like, you know what? As much as I love the car, I do want to experience other cars in my actual life, my channel. So that's why I went ahead and got this. And having the M car, I felt like I couldn't get a little too crazy with it like I am with this car. Obviously, I could have swapped the fenders. I don't know. I just feel like even though this is nothing too crazy what I'm doing right now with my car, swapping a F82 front end, I feel like it's something that still makes it unique. At the end of the day, you know, it's not an M car, but it doesn't sound like an M4. It's got the B58, which, as much as I love F80s and F82s, the B58 sounds better than the S55. I mean, you guys got to be honest with me. I mean, I know some of you guys are going to say, well, the eco-link mid-pipe, yes, it does make it better. And don't get me wrong, I've heard quite a few S55s that sound really good. But with the B58, you can throw anything at it and it'll sound good. So you don't have to go too deep into finding the right exhaust setup, which is costly at the same time. But that's just like some little things that you have to keep in mind. And it's not about saying I can't afford an M3, because I mean, I could have kept it. I was literally almost paying the same for that car that what I'm paying for this, but I had more money invested in the M3, and I just kind of felt bored with it because I felt like if I took it to shows, at the end it's just like, oh look, it's just an M3 with the lip, side skirts, extensions, and a diffuser. That's pretty much how I felt like my car was. And I felt like I was missing that special connection that once you really start getting deep into a project that you build with the car. And I know you're not supposed to get attached to a car, but I mean, this is kind of one of those actual passions that you develop when it comes to modding a car. Like, some enthusiasts would understand what I'm talking about, some may not, because a lot of people with BMWs, they prefer that OEM plus look, like just do simple things and leave it clean. I come from a Japanese background, well, modifying Japanese cars, and with Japanese cars, people get a little bit more creative, start changing things here and there, and I felt like I can't do that with the F80, so that's why I got the F32, where I felt more comfortable changing things here and there. It would allow me to change the seat. I'm honestly looking at a F82 interior that I didn't think I would want, but I think it would look good with this color. So I'm looking at that, and then maybe some other bucket seats, aftermarket bucket seats. So that's, hopefully that answers your question. If you guys are wondering if I missed the F80 once I got this car, I mean, it's a downgrade, and people are always going to see it as a downgrade, but you can get, if it's, you just got to go with whatever makes you happy. Don't get sucked into the status symbol that you feel like you always have to go up the ladder. I mean, just because you can buy a more expensive car doesn't mean that it's going to make you happy. I mean, I've seen people buy you know, high-end cars, and then they get bored quick, because I mean, you can only do so much to certain cars, like bolt-ons, lip kit, pretty much, you know, that's where you keep it, because you don't want to ruin the value of that car, that expensive car. So people that have money to throw, you know, at expensive cars, they can go crazy with them. But if you are more of a middle-class enthusiast, you can only do so much, you know, because you also have to think about the resale value of the car or things like that. So it's just kind of one of those things where it all depends on where you're at financially, and if it's something that you want to do and you're okay with, like if you want to go crazy with a M car. A lot of people do it. Some people don't care about the value of the car. I've seen people, you know, slamming M3s, M4s and scraping them like it's nothing. So you know, everybody has their own opinions on why they do what they do, and that's the cool part about this car scene. Like, you can do whatever you want. You know, you shouldn't really judge other people by what cars they drive or how they want to mod them. I do have sponsors, but just because I have sponsors doesn't mean that everything is free. Big shout out to all the partners, sponsors that have been part of all my projects. Honestly, if it wasn't for them, half of this wouldn't be possible. You know, when it comes to doing the front end, if you're paying straight out of pocket, I would recommend that you try to find the best deals. It's the reason why you don't really see this project done too often is because it can get expensive, and just buying the trims for the bumpers, the inserts, like the plastic meshes, it's kind of ridiculous, because I could have bought a almost, if you pay BMW prices, you could literally buy another bumper. I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Do I miss it once again? Not really. I'm enjoying this car more than I actually thought that I would. And even though it's not the fastest thing out there, it's got enough power for me to enjoy. The manual transmission is fun, but I do want another automatic in the future, and another M car as well. So the M2, the new M2 has really caught my attention, and the new 2 Series actually grew on me a lot. So I'm excited to see the new M2. I'm not saying that I'm gonna get it as soon as it comes out, but I'm just gonna wait to see how it looks, how it drives, and we might look into that subject in the future. So stay tuned, guys. I'm excited to finish this project. I still have quite a bit of things to do to it, and I really do want to keep this car as well. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep this car if I decide to get a M2 or something else in the future. But that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and hit that like button. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.